welcome into Extra Point, powered by Lawrence Tech. I'm Sydney Cariel, joined by Devin Gardner. And Lauren Plant, as you can see, is not here today, so we will be holding down the fort. But as always, we're going to keep it rolling here. Whatever happens.
Wait, anything that happens.
Yeah, whatever happens. If you don't like it or you disagree,
blame Lauren.
Hashtag blame Lauren.
Absolutely.
As always.
Especially since she's not here. It's the best time to do it.
Yeah, and Lauren, when you're listening to this, I hope you laugh. And of course, we're going to blame you for
or
whatever
cry.
happens. But it's crazy to think right now. It's already trophy season, and we are far deep into the playoffs. What did you see out of last week?
A lot of the cool things I thought I would see. Like I said it a few weeks ago, that I thought the Cass Tech was maybe the scariest team in Division I in the playoffs, and they continue to play well, and they find themselves with a real opportunity here moving forward. So I think that football is really good, and it was a windy Saturday, right? So you didn't have all the offense that you thought you might see, but football in Michigan is really, really good right now.
Yeah, speaking of windy Saturday, it's kind of weird that it's not cold yet, and we're already this far deep in the playoffs, so we ain't complaining
For you,
here.
right? You don't even have to wear gloves yet.
Yeah. No
You're
gloves
recording
yet.
with no gloves.
I've got my bag packed with gloves, beanies, scarves, you name it.
Prepared.
Haven't even opened the hand warmers yet, which is a good sign. But we're going to go right into our takeaways from last week, sponsored by Figer Law, and you touched on it a little bit, but Cass Tech taking down Southfield 25-14.
Yeah, I mean, this Southfield offense is super explosive, and what Cass Tech was able to do is control the ball, and they were able to control it with their quarterback. LeSean Mumfield is a senior. He recently committed to Ferris State, which is a perfect program for him, right? The smaller quarterback that can run around, maybe do some other things. Right. But he's really coming to his own since that first outing against Southfield where they lost the game, but he played outstanding, and a lot of people forget he had a lot of yards because they scored. Obviously, the score was what it was. But it was a different game this time, and with the win, you're not able to throw deep passes and do all the things that Cass kind of got accustomed to doing. But he was able to control the game on the ground and through the air with short passes, 2 rushing touchdowns, 1 through the air. He was exceptional. And I think that he is the difference maker. I said a couple weeks ago, like he's found these new legs and kind of committed to running the ball as a quarterback. I think sometimes a lot of talented quarterbacks with a lot of different skills, they get into I don't want to run so much. I want to prove that I can drop back and pass the ball, right. Where I never understood it just because you have a skill and you're taking one of your skills away, right? And so he's found that skill. He continues to use it. And I remember him as a young kid coming into high school. So talented as a passer. When I tell you, he was doing 7-on-7s with teams, didn't know the plays, but he would anticipate like he knew the plays. I'm like, wow, this kid is amazing. How's this 8th grader anticipating, doesn't know the plays? Because everybody knows that being an anticipatory thrower is the one thing that you have to do and want to do if you want to be a great quarterback. And he was able to do it without knowing the plays, right? Tell him really quickly in the huddle, and he was anticipating. So you add that skill with his running ability, and it makes Cass Tech even scarier.
Yeah, the GLIAC is lucky to have him in the future. And we have to remember, too, Cass Tech had to beat Brother Rice to even make it to the playoffs. Yeah. And look at them now. They are rolling, and we've talked about it week after week, but they found their stride right at the right time this season.
Not only Brother Rice, they had to win out. They had to be king, too, right? Yeah.
Right, like they just had to keep it going. So great game there, that's for sure. And our next one, we had Macomb, Dakota beating Romeo, 17-0. I mean, that was kind of wild, and the Cougars are 11-0, and another shutout in the playoffs. I don't know how many teams have ever done that. Where's Lauren with the history books when we need that? But that's got to be something. But, Dakota's defense, the saying defense wins championships, their defense is showing that right now and pretty good. They held Romeo to just 14 yards in the first half. 14. That's it. That's
not a lot of yards.
Not a lot of yards, and they finished with only 107 yards. Romeo did. So throughout the entire game, defense was playing really well. And like I said, it was back-to-back shutouts in the playoffs. Up next, they have Cass Tech. So we already know that's going to be a battle there.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about Dakota earlier this year, and I had the soundbite of maybe Dakota's back, and they continue to win. They continue to win. And I kind of talked about how when I came into high school, Dakota was king, right? They were pretty much unstoppable, always going to the state championship. I think that, like I got talked about, they are back, but they're coming up against a Cass Tech team that not only are they really, really good and they're getting better, but they are playing outstanding football in the second half, right? They held Southfield scoreless. That explosive offense with the young Marshall, Zeke Marshall, and all those talented receivers, they held them to 0 points in the second half. And it seems like Cass Tech has really become a second-half team. The one challenge they will have is against Dakota. I don't know if they'll just be able to be that second-half team. They have to perform well in the first half and also in the second half if they want to get out of that one. But Dakota is rolling.
Yeah, especially with that physical defense they got going. But I feel like the theme this episode is kind of teams who found their stride at the right time and are rolling. And that is exactly what Brother Rice is doing right now, beating Walled Lake Western 30-22, another team that was on the bubble of making the playoffs, 3-5 heading into the postseason.
3-5.
3-5.
Welcome
Look
to 2022, guys. and I know a lot of teams and a lot of people who don't quite understand the format, which is a much better format, I think. Yeah. Just because you were getting teams that will go undefeated but didn't play a soul and get number one seeds and getting the host playoff games and then getting blasted by whoever comes in. I remember at Inkster High, we went and blasted a bunch of teams in the beginning of the playoffs because our record wasn't as good just because we played super talented teams. But now you're rewarded for playing those top-level teams, those top-class teams. And Brother Rice in that Catholic League, and not only Brother Rice, Orchard Lake St. Mary's, who is in the playoffs and playing well and still fighting for an opportunity. But Brother Rice getting in at 3-5 was they snuck in there just by the hair on their chinny chin chin, just by the hair on their chin. Now they're getting an opportunity. Blake Morogi, he's been outstanding, and they won this game 30-22, but it wasn't even that close, right? 30-22, but it wasn't that close. 195 rushing yards for your guy, Mr. Morogi.
Oh, yeah.
Right? I mean, and with the wind and all those different things, he needed to be that for his team. And it seems like Brother Rice is really becoming whatever they need, Morogi can be that. If he needs to pass it, a la De La Salle, he'll pass it. If he needs to run it, like this previous outing, he'll run it.
All around, they found their stride, like we said.
Yeah.
We'll see, but up next, they've got Detroit King.
So the Cinderella story, the 3-5 team may have ended, but we don't know.
I was going to say, should we throw back when they were going to play De La Salle earlier in the season?
I think Detroit King's a little bit of a different animal, but we'll see. Just because Brother Rice has proven that they earned the respect of us, of teams they play against, and I think that's the reason it's going to be tough for him because King definitely. I don't think De La Salle quite respected him. Right, De La Salle saw Brother Rice we're going to destroy these guys. They don't have anything.
Deal.
They've been losing. They're not playing extremely well. But they're gonna go against King, and King is not gonna look at Brother Rice that way. They're gonna know that this is a Catholic League team that went through the gauntlet. They continue to sneak up on people and beat people. They're not gonna allow them to sneak up on them. So Dante Moore should be ready.
Right, and King is home, so maybe that home field advantage will really play a factor in that one.
They got a new field.
Yeah, look at that. All around, it's going to be good. But like I always say, any given Friday. So you just never know in the playoffs. Any given Friday. I love that saying, if you haven't noticed already. But our last game we just want to take away really quick and cover. Trenton beat Carlson 17-7, and Trenton is headed to the regionals for the first time since 1998. Man, I was only 3 years old then. Mm-hmm. What a time, right? Mm-hmm. But this is a rematch.
That was my first year playing football.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, should we reminisce back to 1998? What was the hit song back then?
I don't know.
John Kidd, look that up.
John Kidd, what was the song in
1998? No, but this was a rematch from week 4, and if you remember that one, Carlson won 27-6. But Trenton hasn't lost since that game. So the Trojans scored 2 fourth-quarter touchdowns to seal the win, and I believe this is the first district title in program history.
Yeah, that's impressive. That's
which is
very impressive. So, I remember playing Carlson and Trenton when I was in high school.
Yeah.
Demolished them both.
No big deal. Humble brag right there.
Hey, I remember playing at Inkster High with that dirt field. John Kidd probably remembers. Dirt field, train riding by during the game. Like, that's our crowd noise, a train riding by. It was fun.
That's got to be kind of fun, though. And up next, Trenton is going to take on Mason, who is 11-0. So that is going to be a tough one. It's going to be a test for both teams. And speaking of John Kidd, he's going to be at that game. So be sure if you see him, give him a little shout out there. He'll love to see that. Tell him that Devin and Sid said to say hi.
Yeah, for sure.
For sure, but we're going to move on along to the best things we saw in round 2, sponsored by Alta Equipment Company. Devin, there's a lot of good things, but what do you think was one of the best things we saw? Mason
McKenzie at Caledonia. So Caledonia, they've slowly but surely tried to become a good team. And they were, I think that Jax Kenninger was a player or a quarterback on their team a few years back that kind of steadied the ship and kind of got them on that path to going to what they have become now. And then Mason McKenzie, he's come along and he has been a breath of fresh air, running the ball, throwing the ball, anything kind of like we talked about with Morogi. except I think that Mason McKenzie is a significantly better passer. I mean, he is outstanding in the pass game, but he is no slouch as a runner. Very happy with what he's been able to do just because he plays, kind of up there. Nobody really pays attention on the west side of the state and things like that. But he has been exceptional, one of the best quarterbacks in the state of Michigan all year. He hasn't even been able to play full games. The one blemish that they had was against Rockford, right? And so when you get, and they got throttled kind of, right? It wasn't really close. So coming to this game, you can have two choices, right? You can be extremely confident because you already took that loss, you took that beat down, and now you kind of know what you need to do better, and you believe that you can make the change. Or you can go in there with a low self-esteem of like, hey man, this team already destroyed us, we don't have a chance. And they did not go in like that. I think Rockford might have gone in a little overconfident just because they did handle them the way they did, and it took a heroic effort from Mason McKenzie. 2-point conversion, double overtime. What a game.
That is, that's a crazy game. And what a way to end his just district final there. But another close game. This might come in second for one of the best things we saw in round 2. But this is another close game all the way down to the end, and it came from Goodrich and Freeland. Freeland was forced to punt from their own 10-yard line at the end of the game. There was 10 seconds left. Goodrich blocked it. Jace Williams blocks this punt, so now they pick it up at the 10. It's wild, and then they go ahead and kick a game-winning field goal as time expires with 2 seconds left. Caden Kalinowski, I hope I said his name right. Kalinowski.
That's gotta hurt.
Kicked a 25-yard game-winning field goal to win 10-9. Goodrich moving on with that. Yeah, a block. I mean, special teams. We touched on that a little bit in the regular season, that special teams can make or break games, and that's one of them that made it.
Yeah, a lot of schools don't focus a whole bunch on special teams just because it's not enough time, right? You get out of school, you don't have all that, you know what I mean? You got to let kids go home and eat dinner, they're still children. But teams, you better find a way because you can win, like you said, or lose games. Yeah.
And a quick shout out, giving some love to our mid-Michigan teams because, I did used to work at ABC 12. Had to throw that out there. I know I always say that. But shout out to Nolothrop from Division 7. They are 9-2 on the season. And get this, they have made the playoffs for 23 consecutive years.
That's pretty good.
23 consecutive years. So how about that?
Their playoff reign is almost as old as you.
Almost.
Almost.
Wait, no, it's younger than me. I'm old.
Yeah. Getting there. Just saying.
Not quite 30 yet, which is a good thing.
It's getting there.
Hard to believe we're in this point of the season, and our Mr. Football Award is just heating up here, sponsored by Hungry Howie's. Sean, can you believe that we're at this point?
It's incredible. I mean, the vote's going to be ending in just a few days. I mean, and there's so much left to do. Sydney, I can safely say this is one of the most wide open, if not the most wide open races ever, because, I mean, we've got a bunch of guys that could make the case. And as always, we're asking you to vote and be a part of it because the voting ends on the 14th. So you only have a few days left to cast your vote.
Yeah, like Sean said, it ends the 14th at noon. And don't forget, whoever is the leading vote getter automatically advances to the Final Four. So that's why it's so important to get out there and make your vote. And it's very easy at statechampsnetwork.com. But right now, our leading vote getter is Cole Cabana from Dexter. He has over 52,000 votes, and they're going to have a big one coming up against Midland. So
huge game and a chance for him to improve his already impressive resume. How about this? He's got 1,305 yards, 26 touchdowns, an additional 360 yards receiving. Oh, by the way, 3 special team D type of touchdowns as well. So this is a guy with the vote, as you said, but his impressive resume as it is something that people are going to have to consider moving forward. And when we all sit down in that room, and I know you're going to be a part of it, and we discuss the nuances and we break it down via our criteria, boy, his name's going to be prominent.
Yeah, his name's going to be prominent. And then there's 2 other players on this list who we've heard their names called a lot. Ethan Clark from Clarkston, Parker Pico from Rochester Adams. These 2 are going head-to-head
Isn't
this
that
week.
Beautiful? I mean, if you want, you might say elimination game, because look, again, this is why we put our criteria on the television. We want to make everybody know this is what we are weighting things by. So as your team goes in the playoffs, it also increases your chances as well. But you mentioned Clark. He's got over 2,400 yards rushing, 30 touchdowns. He's got an additional 4 through the air. Pico's been unbelievable. almost 1,500 yards passing, 21 touchdowns. Then over 1,500 yards rushing with 20 more touchdowns. And just for good measure, he caught a touchdown as well. So, yeah, I mean, guys are going to be making their cases almost like we just went through that election cycle, right? Well, this is going to be a case where people are going to make that final push before we close our voting on Monday.
Yeah, and then a couple other players who are still in it. Brady Drogosh from De La Salle. We got Dante Moore from King. Mason McKenzie from Caledonia. And those are it, actually. That's everybody on that list. So out of those other 3 players, they've got a lot on stake as well with tough games coming up.
Well, and that's exactly it. I mean, already an impressive resume, but now they get a chance to build on it, especially in this critical crunch time. Drogosh, over 2,000 yards passing, 29 touchdowns. More. What more can you say about this kid? Well, I'm going to. 1,900 yards passing, 23 touchdowns, 10 rushing touchdowns. McKenzie, over 1,600 yards passing. An additional nearly 1,300 yards rushing and 14 touchdowns. You could make the case for every one of these guys, but they get to make the case on the field this weekend, and that's what makes this time of year so exciting.
Yeah, looking forward to these games on Friday. It's going to be so good. And don't forget, I know we already said it in the top of the segment, but we got to remind you again, it is so important to get out there and make your vote, because the top vote getter automatically advances to the Final Four, and voting will close on Monday, November 14th. So that's just in a couple days at noon. So get out there and make your vote.
Entering its 26th year of excellence, applications are being accepted right now for the Detroit Athletic Club Foundation's Michigan Male and Female High School Athlete of the Year Awards. Not everyone qualifies, so listen closely. If you are a recognized first-team All-State athlete in a sport or projected to be one this school year, if you have at least a cumulative 3.0 GPA, and if you have demonstrated leadership through the school or as a community volunteer, we want you to apply. 6 male and 6 female student athletes will be nominated, with each being awarded $1,000 of college scholarship money. The winners will receive $5,000 each. The 26th Michigan High School Athlete of the Year Awards will take place at the incredible Detroit Athletic Club in downtown Detroit the evening of Monday, June 5th, and streamed live on the State Champs Sports Network. Nomination applications will be accepted through Monday, March 6th, and this is important. You cannot be nominated if you don't apply. Download the application today at dacathleteoftheyear.com. That's dacathleteoftheyear.com.
We're going to take a quick break and check in with our friends at the DMC Physical Therapy and Sports Medicine to see this week's Game Changers.
Hi, I'm Laura Ramus from DMC Physical Therapy and Sports Medicine, and today on Game Changers, we're going to talk about the 5 most common mistakes that happen during a weight training program. Number 1, make sure you perform a warm-up set. Second mistake, not sticking to the basics. The third error is using too little of a resistance and not increasing your resistance. The fourth error is performing incorrect technique. The fifth error is inadequate recovery.
Do you have a sports injury, or are you just looking to take your game to the next level? Then go where the pros go. DMC Physical Therapy and Sports Medicine. For immediate care, call 313-910-9328 or visit dmc.org/gamechangers.
Well, now it's time for one of our favorite parts of the show, where we get to honor and talk about the big man. What happens in the trenches? Our Anvil Award, sponsored by Hungry Howie's. I'm here, of course, with Coach Tim Beckler. One heck of a season. We have such good players out there, a lot of studs, like you said.
Yeah, this is getting exciting. The third round, when you get to the regionals, it's on now.
Yeah. And if you're looking at the list of the top 10, we have 6 players who are still playing. 6 players, 5 teams though, which is funny because we have 2 Clarkston guys in this one, but it's so important to get your vote in, right?
Absolutely, and November 14th is the last day of voting. And I'll go through the criteria and I'll get more to that, but I wanted to expound a little bit more on the criteria and let these kids and fans know what we are looking for, and because our committee really works hard at this at the end of the year to piece this out and make sure we get the right guy. So the 30% performance throughout the season. anybody can have a good game. Anybody can have a highlight play in a game, but can you have a great game the entire season?
Right.
And we want consistency. 20% is the level of competition. Again, are you playing against guys who are big, strong, and fast? And are you playing against well-coached football teams? So that's 50% of the vote right there. The next criteria is 20% online voting. And again, November 14th is the last time when you can vote. And what's important about that is the leader going in automatically will be in the Final Four at the end of the season. That's critical. 15% big game performance, which is where we're at right now. Regional finals, it doesn't get any bigger than that. And if you can really bring it in a big game and have a big game performance the next couple of weeks, that's really going to pop in our eyes. And then 10% is your team success. Obviously, your team gets to keep playing. You get to play in more big games. You're playing against better competition. And so that's important as well. And then the 5% is the highly recruited athlete. Being a coach, some of my best players were D3, D2 guys. Yeah. So it's 5%. Do we like to see that you're getting big time recruits and offers from Big Ten schools? Yeah, but it's only 5%.
Exactly. So with all those, thinking about all of those, you can see our top 10 is going to get better this Friday.
Exactly. And just to let those other kids know that if you're still on that list, we haven't forgotten about you.
Right.
Just as your teams aren't playing right now.
Yeah, your team season may be over, but you still have a chance to win this Anvil Award, where we love to talk about the big guys, what happens in the trenches. Big plays happen because of you guys. So be able to, don't forget to get out there and vote. It's so important. And like Coach Beckler said, the last day to vote is Monday, November 14th at noon. So head on out to statechampsnetwork.com, put your vote in, and don't forget, the top vote getter will get a spot in the Final Four automatically. Well, as always, we have a slate of good games coming up for the playoffs. Continue to roll here. We're going to roll right into this one, sponsored by Menards. And if you check out your screen, or if you're just listening, here are the games that State Champs will be at this Friday. So we got Brother Rice at King. I'll be at that one. That's going to be a good one.
It's going to be good.
Yep, it's going to be a good one. And then we got Mason at Trenton, like we said. Go say hi to John Kidd if you're there. Cass Tech at Dakota.
I think that's the big one of the entire state, just because nobody expected Cass to be there, and pretty much everybody expected Dakota to be there because of how well they played.
Yeah, so we'll see who has the momentum moving into that one. And then Birmingham Groves at Franklin.
Big surprise. Groves.
Yes.
Caden Hardy, quarterback. Continue to have his team ready to play, moving through the playoffs. Great job, kid.
Beating Seaholm twice?
Yeah.
That's, wow.
Very good.
They're rolling as well. Orchard Lake St. Mary's at Goodrich. That's the first meeting between the two teams in
another huge surprise. How?
Yeah.
Coach Gonzalez, his first year. Orchard Lake St. Mary's finding a way.
Yep. And then we got Midland at Dexter. It's going to be a good one.
How about that, the Gardner 5 participant?
I was waiting to see when you're going to add that in here.
Running back's really nice, man. I'm just telling you, I picked him for a reason.
And then lastly, the last game State Champs will be at is Divine Child at Riverview, a little D4 action in that one. Yes, that's going to be a lot of fun. Our Bally's Game of the Week, sponsored by Southeast Michigan Ford Dealers. This is a big one. Yeah. It's a rematch. It is win or go home, Rochester Adams at Clarkston. Devin.
I'm excited for it. I'm excited for it. And, as a quarterback now.
Did you play quarterback?
I did play quarterback. Yes.
Just kidding.
I'm not a fan of running the ball. I'm not the run the ball guy. Hey, throw the ball. What are we doing? What's all this 7-on-7 for if we're not going to throw it? These two teams, I love watching them run the ball. I love Ethan Clark. I love Parker Pico, who also throws the ball. But I love to see the power and intensity that Parker Pico runs with. I love to see the speed and elusiveness that Ethan Clark has developed, just because I've seen him so as a young guy, and now he's developed so well and been so unstoppable. This is going to be a good one. This is going to be Pico Clark. Yep. Who is going to be able to control the game better? Both teams want to control the ball. They don't want to go score quick strike just like a lot of the teams in the state. They want to control the game, control the ball, and I think that Ethan Clark and Parker Pico obviously going to be people to watch. I'm excited to watch that one.
Yeah, it's going to be a really good one. And remember, this is a week 3 matchup, and in that one, of course, the teams have changed so much since week 3. But back in that one, Clarkston won 45-35.
It was a good one,
really
too.
high scoring.
It was
yeah.
a good one.
And that first quarter.
Yeah, Clarkston kind of went up, and it seemed like, Rochester. And then Rochester started to battle back, and so part two, this is kind of like, what's that Rocky? You know the first fight with Rocky and Apollo Creed and Rocky? Right,
Yeah.
you're fighting to the bitter end, and then you both kind of get knocked out. Everybody's wondering who won. Obviously, we know who won because we have scores in this one. But I think it's going to be just like that second fight where everybody wants to see who's actually the better team. And we've seen a couple times that teams have avenged losses, right? Yeah. But this one was so close. I really want to see what's going to happen in this one. Both teams have been outstanding this year. It sucks that one of them has to lose.
Yeah, and both teams have names in both the Mr. Football Award and the Anvil Award. So we've got two powerhouses going head to head.
Cole Dellinger.
Yeah,
Another
yeah.
Gardner 5.
Yeah, we've got two linemen from Clarkston in the Anvil Award. So this is going to be a good one, and actually we can all watch it because it is Valley's Game of the Week. So you can catch that on Valley Sports Detroit. Kickoff is at 7:30 p.m. and then right after that is overtime powered by State Champs, and that's where you will get all the action from around the state. You'll get some pregame speeches, postgame interviews. It's all right there on overtime, and this will actually be the last overtime show of the season.
And the overtime show has been great, especially for me because, as you know, I'm always out of town, getting ready for college games, and I don't get a chance to watch the games up close, but that overtime show does an outstanding job, so make sure you tune into that. Don't change the channel. When you're watching the game, just wait for that overtime show. You can see everything. You don't have to go to Twitter and read the words, right? See the highlights and hear exactly what happened.
Yeah, exactly. You want to see it, we've got it all. We have got it all for you. But Devin, it's been fun.
Yeah, it was so much better without Lauren here. He really cramps our style, you know? I'm so glad Lauren's not here.
And we're totally kidding. Lauren, we miss you.
Are we?
And
Are we kidding? I don't know.
Don't forget, though, anything you didn't like, go ahead and blame Lauren on that. Hashtag blame Lauren. But everybody have a great week, a great weekend, and have a good Friday night out there.
State Champs Extra Point is powered by Lawrence Technological University. Visit L2athletics.com and recruit yourself. Extra Point is also brought to you by the Michigan High School Athletic Association, promoting the value and values of educational athletics. The Michigan Army National Guard, a proud partner of the MHSAA. The Detroit Medical Center Physical Therapy and Sports Medicine Pros. Visit dmc.org/Gamechangers. Nominations are being accepted now for the Detroit Athletic Club Foundation's Michigan High School Athlete of the Year Awards. 6 females and 6 males will win a $1,000 college scholarship and be invited to the DAC in downtown Detroit on June 5th, 2023 to find out who will be this year's Athlete of the Year. Seniors only, and you can't be nominated if you don't apply. Find out more and download the application at dacathleteoftheyear.com. Alti Equipment Company, Michigan's #1 construction equipment provider with over 40 brands. Get the right equipment for your project every time. Hungry Howie's Pizza, famous for flavor. Feiger Law, nobody knows the law like we do. Menards, save big money on all your home improvement needs. And by the Southeast Michigan Ford dealers, think Ford first.